Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive, and we're getting into some pretty intense territory today.
Yeah, definitely.
We're looking at last words, specifically the last words of people facing execution.
Intense, for sure.
Right, it's kind of a heavy topic. And we've got some excerpts from this text, the last words of executed prisoners. What do they reveal? So, it's not exactly light reading.
No, but it's fascinating. There's a lot to unpack, I think, about human nature and, regret the justice system. All these big things come up.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're staring death in the face, what do you say? What comes out? I mean, is it really your true self?
Right. Is it honesty? Is it performance?
Exactly. So that's what we're going to try to figure out today.
Sounds good to me.
So let's jump right in. The text mentions this huge variety of emotions in these last words. Like, what kind of patterns have you noticed?
Well, it's interesting. You see the whole spectrum, but one thing that comes up a lot is remorse.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, like apologies to the victims' families, wanting to make things right even at the very end.
You'd almost think everyone would be doing that. But the text also talks about anger and defiance. So, how does that fit in?
Yeah, you see that too. People maintaining their innocence even in their final moments. Or just raging against the system, feeling like it's all unfair.
Wow. It's like they're trying to take back some control in a situation where they have absolutely none left.
I think that's a big part of it. That need to assert yourself to have the last word.
But then there are those who use their last words to express love for their family.
Yeah, that's a common one, actually. It seems that even in the face of death, that connection to loved ones remains super important.
So powerful, right?
Absolutely. That human bond, it's a constant.
But here's a question that I keep coming back to. Could these expressions of love or remorse, or even anger, be a way to manipulate public perception?
That's a good question. Especially in the context of the death penalty, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are they trying to gain sympathy? Maybe even sway opinions?
It's hard to know for sure. I mean, how can you really tell what's truly in someone's heart at a time like that?
Yeah. It's impossible to know for sure, right?
Right. But psychology can maybe give us some clues. There's this idea called terror management theory, which suggests that when people are confronted with death, they cling even tighter to their beliefs and values.
Oh, interesting.
So in a way, these last words, even if they are crafted to evoke a certain response, could still reflect something real about who they are.
Okay, I see what you mean. So we've talked about individual emotions, but what do all these last words tell us about society as a whole?
Now we're getting to the really big picture stuff.
Right. Exactly. What do they say about how we view justice and punishment?
Well, I think it's interesting that we even care about these last words. We preserve them, we analyze them. We're clearly fascinated by this moment of finality.
Yeah, it's almost like we're trying to understand something about ourselves through these words.
I think you're right. It's like holding a mirror up to our own anxieties about crime and death and whether people can truly change.
Right. And of course, we can't talk about this without addressing the death penalty itself.
Absolutely. It's a huge part of the conversation.
How do these last words factor into the debate?
Well, I think it depends on your perspective. If you support the death penalty, you might see these last words as a way for the condemned to take responsibility, Maybe even offer some closure to the victims' families.
Right.
But if you're against the death penalty, you might see those same words as a way to humanize the person on death row, to highlight their remorse or their love for their families.
It makes it a lot harder to see them as just a criminal, right?
Exactly. It complicates things. It forces us to acknowledge the human being behind the crime.
This has been so thought-provoking, honestly.
It really is a fascinating topic.
We've gone from individual emotions to societal anxieties, and we've even touched on the ethics of capital punishment.
And we haven't even scratched the surface, really.
That's true. But, for me, the biggest takeaway is this question it raises for all of us.
Ooh, what's that?
Well, if you could choose your own last words, what would they be? What truth would you want to leave behind?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good one. It's something to think about for sure. I'm not sure I have an answer right now.
Me neither. It's a question that stays with you, that's for sure.
Definitely something to ponder.
Well, on that note, I think we'll leave everyone with that question. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
And to everyone listening, we'll see you next time.
See you then.